There you go, guys. So, managed to get that out late last night. I think it was after 8 o'clock when we eventually got it out. It was probably 9:30 by the time we sort of stripped the turbo and everything off it. So what we actually did in the end, over here, I don't know if you can see that hole in the double rafter there. Dad had a block and tackle in there to lift the motor out of that quite a while ago. It was still hanging there, so what we did is we moved over here. So basically it's got a big huge bolt through it, then it's got a sleeve in there as well to make it stronger. So we just used that and just pushed the car forward and lifted it up and jiggled it out. But I don't recommend trying to pull one of these out by yourself, because unfortunately Dad came home about 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock last night. You might have been about 4ish, and I sort of got to the point where there was a few little tricky things that basically I needed help with, because some of these plugs, especially in and around the back here, like some of the sensors, with all the crap in the road that you can't get off until you get the motor out. You couldn't get two hands in there to get them out. So like there was one in there that was, I'm trying to think which one it is. It might be on some of the other stuff that I've already pulled off, but there was one plug there you couldn't get. You could get your hand in there, but you couldn't get anything to disengage the clip. So I had to lie underneath the car and hold the plug while Dad was actually held in there and pushed the screwdriver in on the clip, and so I could pull it down. And it was like some of it was just a mission, even to get it out. So basically you got the turbo bolted on there, and then you got this EGR pipe thing which bolts on top of the manifold and then onto here, that's on there. And then this bolts onto the turbo, and it sort of sits in here like this. So by the time you get all that on there, and you can't get this out when the motor's actually in position, so like it was a real nightmare to get out of here. I can understand why people take it out through the bottom, but we don't have a lift in here, so sort of had to come out through the top. But what we did is we actually managed to get it part way out, and because of these lifting eyes that are actually on the engine, right at the front, it really kicked it. So it was really swung forward, so it actually made it wider. So what we did is we managed to get it up so far, and then you actually end up putting this here around the EGR part of it, and Dad actually stood on the front of the car, in front of the windscreen, and he yanked on this, with it hooked up to here, he yanked on the strap, as I actually dropped the engine, so he was pulling it up to try and square it up a bit, and then we could get it up a little bit further, and then we actually had enough room to get that off, because we could get in from the other side and unbolt the two bolts off the turbo, and then undo the couple, I think there's a little mount in here somewhere, and another couple little, that little hose, you sort of have to get all that off, and that actually give us enough space to get it off, or get it up and out. So yeah, so this is the root of the problem, as you've probably seen in the last video, the frost plug, or Welsh plug, or whatever you want to call it, freeze plug, should go on through there. So we're going to strip the motor, rest of the motor down, we're going to get them all out, and there's some on the front too, you can sort of see in here. Where are we? Oh, there's some down in here, like here's one in the block down there. So there's obviously more. Not sure in here anywhere, or we'll just have to have a good look. We'll pull some of this crap off and find out. But yeah, I don't advise trying to lift these out by yourself. You really need sort of two people in here to try and do some of this. It's just a nightmare. Like, it took me, the first thing I took off, which was the chard pipe underneath that runs up to the what do you call it, the intercooler, because the way they had the hose clamp positioned on the thing, it was actually, hose clamp was sticking up through here, like with the end of it. So you really struggled to try and get something in there to get it loose enough that you could actually turn it around and actually undo it properly. Because I had it like pulled hard round after I'd undone all the pieces from the front. It pulled hard round, and it was just enough that I could get a screwdriver sort of halfway cocked in it and get a couple of quarter turns in it so that I could slip it round and then get it off. It took me bloody nearly 2 hours to get that off, because the bloody thing's assembled like this and then put in the car from underneath. So it was just a real nightmare to get out. And basically you can't get all the turbo or anything off on the engine without dropping the subframe, so it's just a mongrel. Like you actually got to drop the whole subframe out to get anything out through the bottom. So yeah, like it took me probably 3 or 4 hours just to get enough crap off here to see up in there where the water was coming from for a start off. It wasn't fun, but anyway, it's out, so we'll get it. We'll get some freeze plugs and some gaskets obviously for it, and get it sorted and get it back in. So yeah, like if you had to pay someone to do this, it would cost you, I don't know, an arm and a leg and probably a neck. Like there'd be probably $1,000 in just to getting the bloody thing out with the labour time. Crazy amount of time of getting that out. Like, you know, I've pulled engines out and, you know, front wheel drive engines out in a couple of hours. You know, sort of stuff from the 80s and 90s, but not that. Wow, it just took forever. Just so many plugs and bits and pieces, and just lack of access. So and it's slow going because things are in awkward positions. But anyway, we got it. So yeah, I don't recommend trying to do that by yourself at all. And if you haven't got a fairly good knowledge of pulling stuff apart like this year, I wouldn't even tackle it. Just a nightmare, I think. But that would be the most difficult engine I've ever pulled out of anything. And I've had some pretty tough ones. I actually pulled years and years ago. I did a north-south Honda 5-cylinder thing that was front-wheel drive, but the engine was north-south and the gearbox was north-south. It was a real strange thing. Like the axles went through the sump and all sorts of funny, stupid things. Like that was a real prick of a thing to get out too, but I think that was possibly worse. But anyway, so it's out. Yeah, like it took a lot of juggling to work its way out of here and get bits off. So yeah, we had to take the alternator off it. You know, quite a few just different bits and pieces just to get enough room to swing things backwards and forwards to get them out. So I don't recommend it. Alrighty guys, cheers. Right, how you going guys? So, in theory, I haven't had a look yet. You're looking at this. So Dad's got all the plugs back in it, and he's reassembled most of what needs to be done. Still waiting on the gasket. Hopefully that'll be here today. So it's just a matter of waiting for a phone call. But all the plugs are all in, so that's awesome. Fortunately, when they ordered all the plugs, they come in packs of 10, so we managed to get the extra one for there, so that's awesome. So yeah, we're just waiting on the gasket and the strainer for the little piece for the turbo is going to be a while. So hopefully we can just put it in there and run it, and then when the strainer comes, put it in. But yeah, because it's apparently it's going to be quite a while. Like it could be a few weeks before it gets here. It's got to come from overseas apparently or something, which is a bit of a pain. But you know, I don't know. It's whether it's worth the risk, but we can't really afford for the car to be down several weeks. So it's a risk we're going to have to take, I suppose. Which is a pain. Didn't realise, when we set the bolt down, didn't realise it was quite so fragile, and obviously just when it touched the concrete, it must have just broke, which is a bit of a pain. But that's all good to go. So yeah, we'll just double check everything else. Like Dad actually replaced all these pulleys and bits and pieces there quite a while ago. So like they should be all good. So yeah, it's just we'll have a bit of a general look at other little bits and pieces. We've checked all the hoses; they all seem to be all good. It's all nice and supple and not hard, and don't look like anything's like stretched or blown out or anything like that. I actually had a mention on one of my videos about the condition of the water that came out of here. We were really surprised too, but it's strange because this has been serviced up until about 200,000 k's. This was serviced by MK4 Ford here, because this was Dad's work vehicle. He didn't own it, but it was his work vehicle, all the way from new. And then when Dad retired, they just gave him the vehicle. So basically up to 200,000 k's, it was all serviced by Ford. And apparently they changed the coolant or the antifreeze, whatever you want to call it, at 100,000, and then at 200,000 just before Dad got it, and they serviced everything again, like they'd done the trans oils and all that sort of stuff as well. So yeah, like it's a bit of an oddity, and the strange things too was like the frost plugs didn't have that rusty look. They were just electrolysis, so like it's a bit of a strange one. Yeah, I can't figure out why the antifreeze was so shitty and dirty either. But yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things, like somebody said, oh, and you're not running a 50-50 premix or whatever. It was like, well, no, because it was changed every 100,000, as far as I understand, and as far as Dad understood. So unless they never freaking changed it, but it was meant to be being done every 100,000 k's when it was having a major service. Like you had trans fluid changed and all that sort of stuff, and the filters done and all that sort of thing. So yeah, I don't know. It's one of those mysteries. We'll probably never know, but we'll put all fresh stuff and everything all in it. I'm going to price trans fluid, because I know if you don't put the right fluid in it, it can be a bit of a pig. It's got to be the right thing, because this will do on a long trip, 1,200 k's to a tank of fuel. And it actually happened early on when this hit 100,000. Ford didn't put the genuine fluid, trans fluid in it. They actually put what was supposedly the same spec, because it was half the price at the time. So we're talking like 2010 maybe, or something like that, after a couple of years old, because Dad's done some pretty quick Ks in it. And I was just trying to think, yeah, they put an oil that was supposed to be the same spec at about half the cost, and it dropped about 900 k's to a tank, and never got any better. And it wasn't until they did another guy's car that was working for the same company about a month later, and it did exactly the same thing. Yeah, and they knew then it had to be the oil they put in it, so they flushed both the cars and they changed all the filters and they put all the genuine oils in it. And I think it took 2 changes, like within about 20,000 k's, for them to come right again. So yeah, like it's critical that you put the right oil on it. Possibly now, being 2020, some of them oils might be a bit more compatible. So yeah, hopefully, but we'll find out. We'll do a bit of research and try and put the exact right oil on it. But apart from that, I think we're good to go. So yeah, hopefully today, if that, what do you call it, the gasket turns up, Dad possibly, or I'll later on start bolting all this back on, and we might get it in the car tonight. Not 100% sure, or at least get it in there and then start putting stuff together, and at least then I can finish it off. Because Mum and Dad are going away later on again for the weekend, so yeah, at least I'll get a chance to put it back together tonight or tomorrow night, and then hopefully we've got a car running again Saturday or Sunday. I'd like to be Saturday because I'd like to go do some drag racing, just some local stuff, nothing big, just street cars and just smaller competition types of cars. There's not a lot of that sort of stuff here. It'll be mainly street, so I'd actually like to try and go and do a bit of footage for that too, which would be quite cool. And just sort of show you guys some of the stuff that's here local. I haven't seen anything here for quite a long time local either. But there should be a few V8s and stuff. There'd be a lot of imports and bits and pieces as well. But it'd be just cool to have to sort of show you what sort of goes on in that scene down here. And it's actually on a circuit track. It's not a dedicated drag strip, so they can't use track bike. So, but anyway, there's something else to look forward to if I get this finished. I thought I might pinch Mum and Dad's car. But anyway, catch you later. Cheers.